Hey, I wanted to share with you some of my experience with Copilot and explain what are my use cases. And at the end, I'll discuss how you can find your use cases. So let's start with today. So I'm a huge LinkedIn consumer. For me, LinkedIn is my knowledge base because I'm connected with so many people that have the same interest. And so I can see publications, articles, comments, reactions on the subjects that are interesting me. Right now, it's mainly Copilot, but it could be Teams, or it could be generative AI, it could be several topics. And since I'm connected with those people, I see a lot of articles, and so that's how I learn. So every morning, I look at my LinkedIn and I read articles on LinkedIn. So mainly I see a little description with a link, and then I click on the link, and then I have a huge article. So I'm not sure how much time it's going to take me to read all the article. If it's really interesting, so I ask Copilot to summarize this article. I ask what are the key points, what I'm going to learn from this article, and if I see this article can bring me some value, then I'm going to read it, or I'm going to ask Copilot for more questions about specific pieces of the article. So that's my first usage. The second one is I might go to in Outlook. I don't have a lot of email because my governance is really well done, so I don't receive a lot of email. It's mainly in Teams, but I can use Copilot to surface my emails, ask maybe the Copilot chat asks to have a summary of all my emails and my main emails or my main conversation that were in chats or wherever it is in Microsoft 365 since yesterday to see what I need to do today. And when I find an email that may be important based on some criteria that I'm going to give to Copilot, it can be a subject, a project name, it can be a person who send me an email or a communication. So I'm asking a question regarding that, and then I can dig into if the thread in email. I can ask Copilot to summarize the thread. That's how I'm going to find out what are the main topics that are important for the day or for the coming days, and it helps me to focus where I need to focus. So then sometimes in emails or in some conversations, I can see documents attached or documents linked. So I might open the document. If it's a long document, again, I'm going to ask Copilot to help me find out what is this document about, how much time it will take me to read it, what are the key points. I can query also, some specific points. There were key points. Maybe I want to focus on the key point, and I'm going to ask a question. So that's also part of my reading process. So that's usually how I start the day. Then sometimes I need to do some planning. So I ask Copilot, what my day looks like. I'm going to have meetings. Obviously, we all have meetings. And I'm going to ask, if I need prep time based on the meeting's subject, or if you can find documents that are linked to the meetings or the context of the meeting, which is might be a project, a customer name, or whatever. Uh, and then depending on the meeting, I might ask if I need to read some documents before, and then I go back in the process of reading the email with the help of Copilot. And also I might ask if I have pending tasks that I forget to address, or pending email that I didn't answer, or pending chats that I didn't answer. So that's at the beginning of the day. That's a way to frame what I need to do during the day. I have a better understanding of what the day is looking like. Then, obviously you have some meetings. I have some meetings too. Even if I think I have a good governance here too, so I'm not attending all the meetings, even if I'm sometimes triple booked. And so, but I keep the meeting so I have access to the recording and transcript, and I can ask Copilot to do some search. But before attending a meeting, usually I might ask Copilot, to help me summarize, everything about the meeting. If it's again, if it's a project, if it's a subject, if it's whatever it is, I can query about this meeting on a certain perspective. And when I'm entering a meeting now, I don't take any more notes. Really rarely. Sometimes I can take notes on a piece of paper. Just it helps me to print download my brain sometimes. But I know that I have Copilot and I can query the meeting after the meeting, but also during the meeting. Sometimes I don't understand everything that has been said because maybe I was distracted, or maybe because there's a certain term I don't understand. So I might ask Copilot to tell me what did this person say just said about whatever. And so Copilot can help me here. Sometimes also when a customer is asking a question, somebody is asking a question, I don't have the answer. Maybe if I have the time, I can ask Copilot to find an answer for this question and quickly provide the answer. Even if I don't think we should lose the focus, and definitely what's more important is at the end of the meeting is to remember what has been asked and I didn't answer to, and so I can summarize what was said and what was asked without any answer, and then I can come back and ask Copilot to help me to provide all the answers, or define what is a call to action, and maybe I'll send after the meeting or later in the day the list of call to actions or a summary of this meeting. Usually, with Teams rooms, there's a good intelligent recap, but even that is long, and even that people might not read it. So I might provide that somewhere, but I like to provide what is really important, the call to action, and very short summary in very few sentences. What has been said. What if I have 2 minutes to spend to understand what happened in the meeting, that's what I want in my summary and the call to action. So that's mainly how I use Copilot during meeting. Then there's another thing I do in the day. Some days are uh, more inclined to be creative. Others are more inclined to be more in the operation. But when I have the time to create, um, and I need to create content, which is really often the case as a consultant, I must say that I almost use Copilot all the time to proofread what I'm writing. It's an email, it's a chat, it's a document that I'm going to ask Copilot for help. Maybe because my first language is not English, but also I think it helps to find better sentences, better ways to express something, especially when you want to target different audiences. So I'm going to ask to proofread and maybe do some recommendation. So when it's an email, I might ask to change the tone, or a chat, I might ask to change the tone and bring a different tone depending on the recipient of my message. If I'm talking to a CEO, I'm probably not going to communicate the same way if I'm talking to a peer. So depending on the audience that the communication goes to I will adjust the tone and ask Copilot for help. Sometimes I don't take the suggestions that Copilot is making and I keep with mine. And also a good practice that I've done is I tried to define my tone so it still resonates with me, even if there's good suggestions for Copilot. I inject some element of my tone. I like, for example, storytelling, starting from the pain and giving a solution. I like sometimes to add some fun or jokes, or not really jokes, but something with some humor. So that might be in my style, and I can when I'm prompting, I can say, can you use my style, and I have my styles for Word document, so you can really reuse my style. Not all the time, obviously. I don't want to spend too much time either, but that's an important thing. So when I need to present a document, it means I build some content. So for example, a very good example is like I create a user guide in Word. The user guide can be long and can be fast just to read. Word documents are, well, um, they are useful for some use cases, but sometimes people don't have the time to read all through all the documents, so they can still query. That's fine, but sometimes people need something more visual, so I might want to present that in another format, which is PowerPoint. So a user guide is one good example. Some people like to have a long document with all the guidance, and some other people like to have something more light and in PowerPoint. So I'm going to ask Copilot to help me from the Word document to create a PowerPoint presentation, which is more visual, and maybe I'm going to be able to, or the recipient of the document will be able to browse to the information more quickly. Um, and also, sometimes I'm just asking Copilot not to create all the document, but I'm going to prompt something, create a document explaining what are the use cases of Copilot for an executive assistant. And maybe I'm going to frame it with some, with the challenges and benefits. Coming from that, I have some material. It's going to generate some good material, but a lot of it is not really applicable. So, but the benefit of doing this is it's going to help me to have a structure, a good organization of how I should present the information. And so it's some sort of canvas of what I can start with, and I can deconstruct, reconstruct. And every time I want to add my stuff. Another example, when I'm creating, answering an RFP or writing a scope of work, every sentences I'm going to write is coming from my own intelligence, in a way, my own experience. But I'm going to ask Copilot to rewrite it to make it in better tone or frame it better, especially in English. Again, that's a benefit for me, might not be a benefit for everybody, but it's going to polish it in a better way. Now that's the creating part. This part of my job is to analyze things. I rarely analyze data, but sometimes I do. And when I do it, I'm not an expert in Excel. So sometimes there are use cases where I'm struggling to figure out, how I can extract some information from a column and do some calculation of part of the information. That's where I'm going to ask Copilot to help me. Unfortunately, with large, for example, I do a lot of surveys, and Copilot is not yet mature enough to give me insights the way I want, and because I want to filter by different criteria, and it doesn't work that. It's really simple analysis, so I'm not really leveraging Copilot for creating a pivot table. Or sometimes I might ask a question and they might create a pivot table to give the answer, but most of the time it's for me to get help to find the right formula to extract information, and also sometimes it's also to highlight some data pretty quickly, so I can visualize data based on some criteria, and it will highlight my data pretty quickly. So that's also beneficial because I don't, I will spend a lot of time to flag everything, especially if I have a lot of data to flag everything with a color, for example, based on the criteria. Even if if it's in one column, it's simple, but when it's scattered all around, it's more difficult. Also, it's a sort of analysis. I need to read some documents and analyze them to define how I'm going to hack on them. So a good example is when I receive an RFP, uh, I need to understand quickly what it is about, and I need to focus on what is important for me. So I'm going to ask questions first before reading the RFP. Questions about specific topics, like for example, how many users are in the organization, if there are different languages, the things that are structuring for my job, and other questions, more general questions, and more specific questions about my job or organizational change management. And then I can query. And what's interesting is every time I query, I have a link, and I can click on the link, and it jumps to in the Word document where it found the information corresponding to my query. So very beneficial. It helps me to read long things very quickly and focus exactly where I want. And instead of reading everything, and sometimes I read everything just to have the overall context, but sometimes I forget about it. So then I can come back and ask questions without having to reread everything. So also, it happens that I need to cross-reference different information data coming from different sources, and I might need to assemble all those information for my comprehension. So I might ask, to find, different information on a project, like I could say about this project, so I give the name of the customer and the subject of the project with this customer, and I can ask, what are the latest emails and chat and documents that I've been dealing with this project, or I can ask a deeper question. I can iterate in my conversation. That's part of the analysis. In learning, I think I love the fact that I can, learn so much on YouTube, and so I'm also, I have a YouTube channel, but I also consume a lot of YouTube videos to understand things. And but you can spend a lot of time, just like if you're gonna watch this video, you might take a lot of time to watch all the videos. So it might not be interesting for everything I say. So you might be interested in some part of it. So what I am doing is when I find, because I'm connected and subscribed to several channels, I might see an interesting video was released yesterday, and I can go open this video on YouTube and ask about it in Edge to summarize this video. There's a limitation here. It's just, I think, the first 20 minutes they can analyze. It doesn't go further. I'm not sure if there's a strong limit here, if it's going to stay like that forever. But at least for 20 minutes video, it's very helpful. So, and I can query questions. So, for example, today I was watching videos made by Microsoft on how Copilot can be beneficial for HR. So instead of watching all the video, I asked, what are the use cases that were listed in this video, and what are the benefits for HR? And it gave me a good summary. And so, when there was a use case that was interesting, I clicked on the use case, and it jumped to the in the video where it was mentioned. So that's part of the learning process for me is in YouTube, and so it's really beneficial. I think in the future we'll be able to do the same in stream. So when you have your own content stream, you'll be able to do the same thing in stream. Same thing when I see an interesting article on the internet, I do the exact same thing. The only difference is uh, it's a page, it's a web page. I do that also with PDFs, but the difference is I'm not sure how long it's going to take me to be able to read it. So I might tell in the prompt, let me know what I'm going to learn from this page. Same thing for the video, what I'm going to learn. But with the video, I know how long the video is. For the page, roughly know if it's long or not, but I don't really know how much time it will take me. It's not listed every time, so I ask also about give me an average time for reading this article. And I'm ask same thing, ask questions, and I can query different questions to see if there's some interest in reading everything. And also, since Copilot also has the ability to not just look in your tenant, but you can say, okay, look also outside on the web. I just ask question about whatever. For example, I want to know if there was something new about Copilot lately this week. I can ask that, and it will look on the internet and give me a briefing. And I can frame it in a way that if I don't want to be so large than Copilot, but I can say, is there anything new about Copilot for Word this week? And it will look on the internet and it will tell me if you found something, and I can ask to summarize it. I can ask, whatever the prompt is, I can find information also on the internet. Answering, as I said, it's when I have a question, even if it's not live in the meeting, if somebody sends me an email or somebody is posting a chat in the team and asking a question, I might use Copilot to answer the question if I don't have the answer right away. Because I have access to so many data within the organization, but also externally, that let's start first to ask that to the data I have access, and then next thing, if it doesn't work, I'm gonna ask who could answer this question, and then I'm gonna connect with the person and I'm gonna ask directly the question. So it's not just Copilot doing all the job, but Copilot can, if Copilot can do it, let's go for it. If not, I'm gonna ask people just like I did in the past. So prepping, it helps me when I'm going to work for a new customer, for example. I ask Copilot to give me an overview of the culture of the customer, the size, some specific questions about the customer, especially regarding the project I'm working on, and to learn from this customer. To learn, and whatever your prompt is about learning is, if you need prep, just query. I might ask, did we already work with this customer? What did we do? What kind of work we did with this customer? Who are the contacts? And that will look in our tenant for information, and other information can come from internet, like the color, or the culture, the challenges the customer have that is public. Searching, I default searching now in Copilot for internal and for external. Sometimes though, if I'm looking just for a document, I might not query in Copilot because it takes a little bit of time, and I might use the search engine if I know it's I know the document name or something. And also, the search engine can be more helpful if I want to say, okay, I want to look for a PowerPoint presentation, I want to look for a document that has been changed in the last 30 days. That might be a better solution. But most of the time I start with Copilot. And if it doesn't answer right away, I might use search too. And eventually, when I don't find the information either, I'm going to fall back to Google. Thinking, yeah, it helps me to think. I often draft ideas on and new ideas I have, and like again, I'm every time I'm confronted to a new situation, working with a new customer, need to understand. Since I'm working with the users, the advocate of the users, I want to understand the users, and I don't know all their roles and their challenges and their work, their use cases. So I might use Copilot to help me think about it. And help me to structure and expand my ideas, having a conversation with Copilot. I might say, okay, what are the challenges that an executive have today in this industry for that kind of organization, international, local, governmental, whatever. And then I'm going to iterate. It's going to give me here all the challenges. I say, okay, I'm going to take one challenge that makes sense. I'm going to say, but can you give me an example about those challenges? And I iterate like that. So it helps me to build ideas, and then I can ask, how can I structure what I've just learned to better address their challenges? Stuff like that. That's just helping to think by having a conversation with Copilot. And at the end of the day, if I'm not too tired, I might ask Copilot to give me some insights on my day, my week to reflect on. So it's always a good thing to be able to reflect on what you've done and what you need to do. So you have a list of things that has been done, and so you can ask Copilot to help you to build that. And I have my personal usage is to log what has been positive during the day, what has been challenging in the day, and sometimes I come back and I put everything in one note, and then I can summarize with Copilot. Make me a list of what was the most positive in the last my last month. But it helps you to wrap up and figure out and understand what you've done and what's left to be done, and helps you to also prioritize your work. Because for me, we all are challenged with the time we have to do what we have to do. And to me, it's not so much a challenge of time; it's a challenge of priority. So if you don't log things like that, what you're doing and what you're not, it's hard to define what are the right priorities. It's hard to see if you're derailing because you're not focusing on the right priorities. So that helps me. That helps me. Copilot helps me here. Can help me. And I can also, at the end of the day, if I'm in the mood for that, it will help me prepare for the next day. And a good example is I might ask about what documents I worked on this week, and or what documents I will need to work on next week, and get me helping me to get prepared for next week. So that's part of my experience with Copilot. I can just say that since I have Copilot, I think it was in February, it's really my companion. I use it every day, several times a day. It's very instrumental. Sometimes I'm struggling to find the right prompts and I get the right results. Sometimes I'm very frustrated because I spent a lot of time. I was almost there, but Copilot doesn't bring me the solution. I don't know why. Sometimes I learn how to talk to Copilot to get the right results. It really takes time to learn how to work with Copilot. It's just a matter of experience and time. And that's why I'm sharing so many videos, give feedback on how to prompt correctly, give some ideas of use cases. And that's why I'm showing this video. It's because my example of use case might not apply to everyone. Some of them might be interesting for some of you. But how do you find your own use cases? I think the real challenge and is to really find your own use case. And we are so diverse because of our personality or because of our work, because of our industry, that it's not possible to provide all use cases on Earth. It will be not not very digestible to have all this material. So you need to find your use case. And I I like to remind this pyramid that I've built on the years, explaining that there's several steps to go there. And so the first step is to get Copilot. So your IT team has to deploy Copilot, and they need to do some work before to deploy it to be sure that there's no too, you don't have access to some information you shouldn't have access to, or there's not too many duplicates so Copilot get confused. Also, one recommendation I make is try to elaborate good data hygiene. For example, find a way to name your document so people can find them easily and Copilot can search them easily. A good example is when you're prompting and you're referring to a document. There's not always a way to find the document, to search for the document and say, okay, refer this document. So if you don't know where the document is, it's a challenge. If you don't know what the name of the document is, it's also a challenge, because when you type slash, start to type the name, it's going to find the name, the exact name that starts with the same letters. So if you have a naming convention on your document, that might be easier to type the name to find the name. It'll help as you find the name. That's just the basic of the hygiene, but it's very important. And also in terms of permission management, I think it's also important to understand if a document, if there's some material you don't want to be shared with uh, a large audience, so you need to protect it. If some documents are sensitive, you need to put labels on it. So there's something that the IT team might start with, is to work on this governance, work on enabling a Copilot so it doesn't bring false information because there are 20 duplicates or whatever whatsoever, and you don't have access to things you shouldn't have access. But some work has to be done by IT first. The second phase is obviously you need to learn how to use Copilot. You can use Copilot in different tools, different ways. You need to understand how you can use it. For example, you can create a PowerPoint document from a Word document. You can create a Word document from a PowerPoint document. You can create a Word document from a Word document. You can do things in Excel that are different than PowerPoint and Word, and you can use the chat, Copilot chat to do other things that can surface all the content. When you're in the Word, you can only focus on Word. So you need to learn the tool, learning how to use the technology. So what we call adoption. Second layer is the third layer is the business transformation, and I think that's what is core. I think that's where you need to define your use case, and you can be helped by consultants like us who can help people to by having a discussion to frame where Copilot can help you. And but we don't know all the users' jobs. We don't know how people are working in their vertical, or there might be some people who are very specialized in how the HR person is working in this industry and what their challenges are and where to focus to use Copilot to do what they have to do. And Microsoft is releasing some examples of, for example, in this video I was talking about, they were showing that you can take resumes and benchmark the resumes with some criteria to see what is best resume. That's in theory, but to be practical, it might not work with Copilot. Might not be always accurate for that. So and especially you need to maybe define the right criteria, and there may be a way to do it. In the demonstration, they copy paste all the resume in one big Word document and query the Word document. There might be other ways to do that. If you don't have, if you can spend time to copy paste all the resume in one Word document, and also sometimes they're in PDF format. So in reality, your use case is a matter of let me understand where you're spending time, where you're struggling, where you will have value if things were automated, if you had some help. That's the discussion that we do when we do business transformation discussion around the use cases to see where Copilot can help. And the last layer is, well, what I think is very important is to drive people in the same direction in terms of changing behavior, because you need to change how you work. And here's an example. The first layer is I have Copilot. The second one is what people are going to use, and it's a no-brainer. It's to query, meaning querying a document, summarizing a document. People will get the value. You don't need a lot of education to understand how these work. Even if you can prompt and bring some ideas of what you can look at. For example, in meetings, you can look for sentiment. Were there people frustrated in this meeting? Were people disagreeing on some topics? What are the topics people were disagreeing on? Things like that. But then, the example, I rank resume based on HR criteria, a job description, eventually interview transcripts that you had with the candidates to just give some help to make a decision. I'm not saying it should replace your own decision, but it can help to remember all the interviews. I know that I've been recruiting a lot of people, and I've been interviewing even more people, and it's hard to remember because I was trying to take notes, but when I was taking notes, I was not focusing with the customers, with the candidate. So it's important, to be able to ask questions after and remember everything. Copilot can help you there. And the last layer is really ask, you should be in a position where every time you start, that's how I function. I shouldn't say you should not, but that's how I function. Now, every time I have something to do, I'm asking myself, hey, can Copilot help me to do this? Even when I have to think. I could have asked, for example, before this video, I could have asked, I didn't, how should I structure this presentation? How should I structure my speech over this presentation? What are the things I should storytell, whatever. But there's a good chance that for each task you want to achieve, Copilot can help somewhere. Not all the time. Sometimes it's faster to go with your own brain. But when it's amplified, and especially when you see it can have impact and save you time, see with Copilot, and you'll learn that way. If you don't do anything with Copilot, especially at the beginning, you might do that, and you fail, and you feel, I'm losing my time. And it's true, you're going to lose your time at the beginning. But while you're learning this process of prompting and understanding how Copilot is functioning and where Copilot is not so good, you'll figure out, where it's valuable to prompt or get the help of Copilot, and that's going to be, to me, it is a transformation. It's a huge change in the way I'm working, huge benefits, better quality. I'm saving time on a lot of things. I'm still learning. It's an ongoing process, and it's really, really beneficial. And you need to find your own use cases where Copilot can help you. And if you want to go further, there's my YouTube channel, which is part of this, where this video is going to be posted. And I hope it can help some people to get some ideas. I think I have over 80 videos that can bring you some ideas to learn how to. And there's some use cases that I found very interesting. Hope this was insightful.